Welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Jeff Parker here. And before we get to all of the discussion about trash and the collection that's going to happen in 2022, we have some other local things to talk about. Welcome. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Very good.
Did you have a good Christmas?
I did. I had a very relaxing Christmas and lots of football.
Lots of football.
You know, who knew they were going to have 2 games on Christmas Day? Yay. Hey, and didn't your Bears win?
My Bears won up in Seattle in the snow.
Can you believe it? I'm not so sure I like that because I don't think I bet on the Bears. But nonetheless, congratulations. You got a win.
Every once in a while.
Well, anyway. Well, I'm glad you also had a good weekend, I'm sure.
It was nice. I had my daughter down for the holidays, so it was really nice.
Nice. It's always great when family can get together, especially during these times when it was chaotic at the airport and they were talking about closures of and cancellations of flights and stuff. So, all right. So we've got a couple of COVID things that is again on the forefront of everybody's mind because we have the variant that people are talking about.
Yeah, the Omni variant is out there among us, obviously, pretty strongly, and what they've seen in Orange County and LA County and the whole state as this big surge. And I'm sure it comes out of the Thanksgiving holidays and the reporting, and it's showing up now in people traveling for Christmas. But as you can see on the board there, 6,475 cases over the weekend. So again, that's a weekend numbers, but 2 weeks ago when we were talking, that was 3,000. And before that, obviously, even lower. So a big jump up in the pure numbers of cases received. Unfortunately, we see 13 people passed away, 9 residents in normal facilities, and then also 3 in a nursing facility and 1 in a assisted living facility. So it's obviously during the holidays, it's tough to lose people. So, and these are people, based on the information that we're receiving, is more in the elderly age. So obviously with the village here, we want to be very careful, and people should be cognizant of that fact. Even with the vaccinations, people can still get sick.
Right, they can still get sick. However, what I think was encouraging to hear is that with the vaccinations that they have, and if they have gotten their booster, the likelihood of them getting severely ill is pretty minimal, correct? It
has helped. They know that has reduced the numbers, but we're still seeing increases like we saw there, and we're seeing some increases in our hospitalization and ICUs. So in our hospitalizations, we're up to 282 hospitalizations and 66 ICUs. So again, that's up over the last 2 weeks compared to what we were. So we're seeing that steady climb. We don't want to see that steady climb. We want to see that decrease. So again, being careful, getting vaccinated, obviously continuing that, getting your booster if you're eligible to get that and can do that. In Laguna Woods in the city, all told, we have 601 cases reported. And that 601 cases is up from on the 14th of 584. So we've seen almost 20 cases in the last 2 weeks. So again, that's a pretty good number. I mean, we've seen it in other places, much bigger numbers. So again, Laguna Woods does a pretty good job, but I just want people to be aware that there are increases in number. Luckily, in our fatalities, we haven't seen any additional fatalities in Laguna Woods. So those are, that's positive. Again, be safe out there, wearing masks, washing hands still, it's all the same stuff. And if you can get vaccinated and have been vaccinated, that will certainly keep us from getting into those severe scenarios where we're in the hospital.
Right, okay, perfect. All right, well, thanks for that update, we appreciate it. Now, moving on to what is going to be happening here in 2022. Now, the current trash company is Waste Management, and tell us how this kind of came about, why we're moving to a new company.
So it all started with the passage of Senate Bill 1383. And 1383 is a requirement under California state law that all residential participants now must source separate recyclables that are regarding organics. We'll get into that in a minute, what organics means and all of that. But with that piece of legislation going, the mandate was that they start this program on January 1st, 2022. Well, the city of Laguna Woods at that point in time was in a contract with Waste Management. They only had a year left on their contract. And so this is new trucks, new carts, a very expensive operation to put into place. And so Waste Management, because of their contract, the way it was set up, they had the ability to not get an extension on their contract, which would have been required. Okay. So without that extension, the city had to go out to bid again for a new waste hauler. Oh. And so it gave the city very little time to do that, unfortunately, and knowing that this crunch was coming with regards to the state requirement. But they went back out to bid. They had two bidders. Waste Management actually bid again because they knew that they were going to have increased costs, so they wanted to roll that into their new bid. Mm-hmm. And certainly the other company was CR&R, which is a local hauler in Orange County as well. Mm-hmm. So had those competing interests. The city went through that bid process, reviewed all of the bids, trying to get the lowest price, obviously, for the residents here, not only in Laguna Woods, but outside of our gates in the city, because it's city responsibility. And they issued a contract with CR&R in the fall. And so CR&R has been working to get this program ready for implementation come January. Because that's what the state law requires. Right. So as part of that, the city has been in contact with us and our group, and we've had members of the various boards included in that communication, because it's a very convoluted, it's a very big process, and it's going to take time for it to get put out there. Number one, in these new carts that we're talking about, and we'll talk about that in a second, as well as changes in times of your trash being picked up. That's changing. Down the road, come February and March, we're going to have different bulky item pickup. Mm-hmm. So it is a total new structure for trash collection in the village, as well as the whole community of Laguna Woods. Right. And it's happening everywhere. This is not just Laguna Woods. I want to make sure everybody understands we're not the only ones, and it's not like we're getting picked on. The reality is every city is obligated to start this operation, which is part of the confusion with regards to how fast this is going to get implemented. Is CR&R has multiple cities, so they're having to get new bins and everything. So it's going to take time to get that implemented, but all of it starts come January.
Now, you mentioned that other cities are having this happen, and I've talked to people who have had it happen. And it is a process, but it's not an unmanageable process, right? I mean, at first, you'll think, oh my gosh, I have to get new trash cans. Well, they provide you with what you need, and then the other truck takes them away. So it is kind of a weird transition, but nonetheless, it's easy where they're going to have one truck take your old ones and the other truck bring the new ones. And then the information that they give you is quite nice. They give you lots of material where you have exactly what goes in what bin, what goes in the other bin, and then there are a few changes that you may not be used to.
Yeah, you summed it up really well. There's a good picture of the CR&R truck. So what you have out there is these 3-yard bins, the large bins that they pick up in all, like in United especially, and in Third too, obviously, throughout the community. And these bins are picking up recyclables and regular trash.
Like here we've got it there. So I mean, they're similar to what you have, and so but they're really color-coded.
And those are the cans. Those are, So when you have that, all of those are going to get swapped out. So they have Waste Management on there right now, and the new ones will have CR&R on there. Yeah. So we're getting new cans, and that process is going to take place the first couple weeks in January, where they're going to be replacing all of these cans and all of these big bins that are in our placement. So don't expect, if you walk out there and you say, wait, there's still a Waste Management. Yeah, there may be. It may take 2 or 3 weeks to get all of those in transition, but they're going to work very diligently. And one of the things they're doing today is we were going to get a letter out to everybody kind of walking people through this and what's coming out. But because of the Postal Service during the holidays and because of the weather, they're actually going door to door with information today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's something new that came out. And so we're hoping that they're going to take that letter that they were going to normally mail out to the residents They're actually going to go door to door through our community and passing that letter out.
Okay.
Because they were so fearful that it'd get caught into the holiday letters and not get there until January, and all of a sudden there's a cart in your, what's going on? So we have a couple of flyers that we wanted to mention. The first one here is a good update from the city with regards to the residential organics recycling. And this is really what is at the heart of 1383. So in the past, if you had food waste, after you're finished eating dinner or something like that, you have some scraps or something like that, you just throw that in the trash.
Right.
Now that piece of garbage, I'll call it, in the sense of that organics, has to go into a separate bin now and needs to, and the reason for that is under 1383, what they're really trying to do is they're trying to cut down all of this food waste that's been going into landfills that causes methane gas.
Okay.
And it's the methane gas that's coming out of the landfills that, as far as the state of California was concerned, they wanted to, by 2025, reduce by 75%, getting that down, because that methane gas is what they believe is causing a big part of the global warming and the impacts to our pollution. So it's a big picture, starting with that, now getting it down into the micro elements of how do we do that. And as you can see there, in the second flyer that you'll be getting, all the residents will be getting this. It shows you what you can put in this new organics recycling bin. And there's a lot of things there. And it really is all about increasing the amount of food waste that's going to be picked up separately. This will be picked up by a different truck. And they're going to be taking that up to CR's facility and taking all of this and separating it and then taking it to a what we call a digester out in Temecula area, and basically converting that into a mulch or converting that into energy so that it doesn't go into the landfills. And so it's a big effort that's going to take multiple years to get to the point that they want to. The very short period of time, though, 2022 to 2025, is not very long. And this is just probably the third biggest step that they've taken under the original plans that started in 1990 with regards to reducing the amount that went into landfills by just normal trash, and now we're trying to reduce it again substantially by getting the organics out of it.
Now, for some people who may already compost, right? I mean, that's a big thing for a lot of people who are into sustainability and things like that. So that's nothing new. I do think, and I'm not positive with this particular area, but in other areas like Mission Viejo, they provide you a separate container that you can keep kind of underneath where your trash is. So when you have that food waste, you can just pop that in there, and then you can transfer the food from that to your can. So I think that is something that they may have for Laguna Woods as well, but it may be upon request.
It is,
right?
And there is an expense.
There is.
Yeah, there's a charge for it. They do have a little container. You can use, a coffee can. Put your food waste in the coffee can, and then you can dump it from there into it. Or you can use if you had an organic plastic bag that's biodegradable. Now it's got to be specific biodegradable plastic bags. You can use that, and paper.
And you can put that in that trash can?
Yeah, because the paper can't, because it's part of that food waste. So you can do both of those. That won't contaminate, because the need is to get the food waste in there. Now, what they really would like you to do at the best, perfect scenario, again, like using that pail that you're talking about, or using a coffee can, and then just dropping it in and you're reusing that coffee can.
And reuse that can, okay. When I look at this little recycling page, it says, like you said, bag waste in compostable or paper bags or wrap in newspaper.
Right.
So the paper bags are like the ones you might get at the store, the grocery store, they ask for paper. Well, that's good, because then we can get rid of the plastic that they try and have all the time. So just ask for paper.
Yeah, ask for paper, and you can use that as your, to haul it down to the can.
Okay, well, that's not so bad then.
Right.
That's easy. And then you can just put that in the trash can with the paper.
In the organic
can.
So
then you never, then it's because I can imagine that if you didn't use anything, that might be kind of a stinky can.
And well, actually, we were talking to people about that. If you had a coffee can, just have a lid on it. You can put a certain amount in there and just put a lid on it. It won't be bad, and based on what we've heard. And same way with the what they're going to offer.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It has a container, has a top on it, so it doesn't smell up if you have food waste for a couple of days or something like that.
Well, that's good. Or you can just walk to your garage and maybe pop it in something just outside the door. Okay.
And so, and like I said, it's a big operation. We'll be seeing that get kicked off in January. The transition time, they have multiple. They got to get the bins out, and so that's what one of them looks like.
Right.
That's it. And then in United, I'll start with them. These bins will be included where we have our big 3-yard bins for trash and recycling.
Really?
So these bins will be located in those same locations.
Oh.
Same thing with Third, in the areas where we found specifically room that we can put these things, we'll be implementing. What won't happen at the very beginning of the implementation will be in the single family homes where they have cans.
Yeah.
That won't be necessary at this point in time, because what we have an obligation in the sense of the community, we've got to work together here, is if we can reduce the amount of organics that's going into our normal garbage. We have a requirement that we have to meet a certain percentage.
I see.
So what they actually will do come March, they're going to do it twice a year, they'll actually pull out a bin or two and they'll weigh it. They'll actually weigh it. And food waste is wet, typically. So it has a weight content to it versus regular trash. So they'll know, based using the statistics that they have, how much food waste is in there. And at the end of the March count, which will come in April or May, we'll get the results. We'll know whether or not we've met our need to get at least 25%, 20 to 25% of our organics into that first process. That's what we need to accomplish, and ultimately getting up to 2025 where we get that higher number.
Yeah.
The impact is if we see that we're not reaching our number, then there will be additional responsibilities put on Laguna Woods and the community as to either more carts or more information out there. But really what we need is to get people to be real aggressive like you have been. One of the things I wanted to say is we've done a really good job with our recyclables. So it's the same game in a sense. We need to be on point with this and make every effort to get our organics into these new bins. And it will help us meet our requirements for the city.
One last question regarding the bins now. I know people might be concerned about 6 bins out there, right? And I don't know if it's an HOA thing where you can't leave bins out or things like that. They won't be dinged for that particular time frame.
If it's as my notes go scattering. Well, for right now in the homes where they had their own cans, they're not even going to get a new organics can at this point in time. We're focusing on the multi-story, the multi-unit complexes where we have larger bins for recycling, and then we're going to put this organic bin there. So we're really focusing on those units first, and then we'll continue to expand this if we're not meeting our obligations under the state law.
A process, be patient. There is going to be a transitional period, and we'll get as much information out as possible.
I want to make sure that people have the phone number. We are going to have, if residents have calls, we want to make sure that they're calling the city. They are going to have a operation set up with a individual there that's going to be working there, but they also have a call center. We want you to call that number. Don't call resident services. I want to make real important that it's all handling by CR&R. They'll answer the questions. The other thing, going on that website that's up there, they're going to have an interactive website, so you can go on there and you can actually find where this organics can is near your. So in United, we have bins everywhere. So you can go to the location where this organics bin's going to be. You can find that. Same way when we get to the bulky item pickup that'll start in February, and that process, there'll be a place you can go on and you can find out what zone you're in, where your house is and which zone, and that'll provide you the information that, that way you don't have to make a phone call, hopefully. But again, use that number, 625-6735, if you have any questions once this starts to roll out, and you'll see it coming to your neighborhood come January.
Exactly. All right, well, thank you so much for the information. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too.
See you next year.
Yep.
And remember, please do not call resident services. Do call the number that's on your screen. And for the interactive information, go to the website that is listed right in front of you there. And we'll be right back with more information.